Sometimes you can come up for air and then dive back down. Other times, the dive that you're trying to take is just not sustainable, and you have to change the depth, you have to change the day, whatever it may be.
You want to see what someone's capable of, back them into a corner, and give them, they will find a way. Human beings find a way. I really believe that.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another very special, as always, episode of Next Level University, where we teach you how to level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed our latest episode. It was episode number 1228, What We Get Confused About Judgment. If you didn't listen to that one, I suggest you do. That was a really, really good episode. Today, for episode number 1229, what do you do when you're dealing with burnout? I want you to imagine this. I want you to imagine that you are driving across the country. This is the first time you've ever done this. You got in your car, you put some gas in it, you said, I'm not really going to check anything else. I got my CDs, I got my podcast, I got my shades, and I'm good to go. You hop in your car, you drive for an hour, and your engine starts smoking. You get out of the car and you say, what is going on here? Well, you know what? I'm going to go get some food, and I'm going to take an hour and see what happens. Come back out, the car is good. The car's good to go. You get in the car, you drive another hour, start smoking again. Not ideal. You say, well, you know what? I'm going to get a coffee. I'll make a phone call. I'll do a little work. You do it for another hour. You get back in the car. What do you think happens, Alan? You get back in the car for the third time.
Car's good to go.
For an hour, and then that thing is smoking again. And then you say, you know what? I've been driving for a few hours. It's getting dark. I'm going to stay overnight here. Okay? I'm going to stay at this Airbnb, this hotel. You get in the car. You do the same thing the next day. Happens again and again and again and again. Okay. What's happening? Your car, in this analogy, in this example, is getting burnt out. It's getting burnt out every hour or so. Now, when you get burnt out, you have two options. One, you can change what you're doing on the day-to-day. So as an example, drive a half hour, and that's it. That's as far as you can make it. And then you're not going to get burnt out. Here's the other problem with that. You can also say to yourself, well, I can't take this journey anymore. This journey is not sustainable for my vehicle. I need a different vehicle. I need a different route. I need a different time of day. I need to do it in the winter instead of the summer, whatever it may be. So when we're talking about burnout, I think the only, I won't say bad option, but the thing you shouldn't do is change nothing. So just as an example in that analogy, if you are working, say you're working 50 hours a week, right? Maybe you need a break. Maybe Saturday and Sunday, you need to take a break. Maybe that's your, I'm burnt out, I need to refill my cup. And taking Saturday and Sunday off is enough. But if you find yourself getting burnt out every single week, maybe what you're doing is not sustainable. So that's kind of how I think about burnout is sometimes you can come up for air and then dive back down. Other times, the dive that you're trying to take is just not sustainable. And you have to change the depth. You have to change the day, whatever it may be. That is what we're going to talk about in this episode.
Analogy wars.
Go ahead.
Here we go.
Do it.
Here we go.
I'm
head to head.
That wasn't my best. Hey, that wasn't my best. I'm going to say that right off the bat.
Dude. So I think what could be a better analogy.
Oh, watch your mouth.
I know. The problem with your analogy, Kev, saying, is that the car doesn't get better when it gets burnt out. Whereas with human beings, when you take R&R, you actually become more effective in less time. You adapt, you evolve. Human beings evolve, right? So 1 hour workout, you're burnt out. The next day you can do an hour in a minute. The next day you can do an hour in 2 minutes. The next day you can do an hour in 4 minutes, right? And it exponentially, the compound effect. It doesn't include the compound effect. So the analogy that I want to use instead is imagine your phone overheats. You use it for an hour. Mm-hmm. It overheats. You have to stop using it for a little while. Then you come back, an hour and 10 overheats. Then you come back, an hour and 15 overheats. You know what you need? You need a little software update. You need a software update. You need iOS, assuming you have an iPhone, you need iOS 3.775. I don't know. I honestly, what are they on iOS 12 or something?
You think I have any idea what's going on?
I don't know. I think it's like 13 or something. I don't know. iOS 13 maybe? 14?
Sounds good to me.
Either way, the point is that you can update your skills. You can update your software. You can update your hardware even. You can burn out in a way that builds you and doesn't crush you. And that's the fine line that we got to talk about, because when you go to the gym and you're lifting, you're tearing down the muscle, and then during rest and recovery, you actually come back stronger. And when you're not consistently making strength gains in the gym, you're probably overtraining and or doing something wrong. So then you got to check in. You got to check in with the fundamentals. And I think that's kind of what you were going for, which is how do you repair the car? There's got to be something wrong with the engine. There's got to be something, you got to take it to the mechanic. Maybe you get a coach, right? So we can go farther and farther and farther with this analogy. But when you are burning out, the only wrong answer is to sit back and keep doing the same thing over and over and over again.
I think a better analogy that I could have used was one of an actual human experience. Because to your point, I think for a lot of us, this is, okay, I'll tell this. When I was working as a foreman in weatherization, my job burnt me out every single week. Every single week. So think of it this way. Either Sunday night or Monday morning, I was driving 6 hours to a different state, checking into a hotel, unpacking all my clothes, and then sleeping in a bed where I couldn't really get good sleep because I have a roommate in my bed in my room with me. They're snoring, they're playing video games, they're doing whatever the hell they're doing, talking on their phone. I'm not getting good sleep, not sustainable. I'm burning out. I'm working 8 hours. I'm eating like garbage. I'm going to the gym, and then oftentimes we would go out drinking or whatever. Friday, I work an 8-hour day. I drive 8 hours home. I'm staying up all night, and then I have Saturday to recover, some of Sunday to recover. So by the end of the week, I am super burnt out. But during the weekend, I'm able to refill my cup. I did that for the busiest time. I mean, I did that for a year straight, and then I did that for like another year where it was really, really busy. I did that for 2 years straight, and it got to the point where I was burnt out overall. It wasn't, for me, it was a career change. And that's why I think for a lot of people, burnout is really challenging, because if you don't have ultimate control of your schedule, you kind of can't find those loops of getting, not better, but like, if you're really burnt out, it's really hard to improve. Do you know what I mean? You and I are very blessed where we can say, hey, let's redesign. You and I redesigned my schedule and your schedule today based on the fact that we have different goals and we're also burning out a little bit. But like you said, I wake up and I say, all right, let me do my morning routine. Let me get some caffeine in me, and I'm off to the races. The weekends are good because you have less front-facing stuff, so you can kind of refill your cup. But there will come a point where you'll switch something up. Right? So I think that's the interesting thing. I think you can either change the micro or you can change the macro. You can change the day-to-day, or you can change the ultimate goal.
Yep.
Or you can do both. But it's so hard to know when to do it because, to your point, things you get better as you go. So that's the interesting dynamic. But if somebody was just blanket statement to say, what do you do when you're burnt out? I would say you either change the day-to-day, right? If you're burning out every single day, you change the day-to-day. If you're burnt out because of a long period of time, maybe you change the end goal or you change the approach. I think it's just change something in some way, shape, or form.
Well, you have to redesign no matter what. You have to either redesign the goal. We're going to continue with the car analogy if that's cool. I drove from Boston to Los Angeles in my early 20s. I had a dream to work in show business. I had a close friend of mine who wanted to be an actor. And so we were off to the races. We actually, I have a little bit of shame around this, but we took his car. And don't do this. You're driving through the Rockies, okay? I was using cruise control. Blew the transmission.
You blew the transmission. That's the car's fault. That's not your fault.
No, man.
Yeah.
You don't use cruise control in the Rockies. That's a rookie move.
No, what do you mean? I used cruise control in Colorado the whole time. Rental, but I did. But then again, these are new cars, so it's a little bit different.
Yeah, this was an older car. I think this was like 2004 Impala or something like that.
Sorry.
But anyways, I am sorry I ruined my friend's car, genuinely. Now, it still got us to LA, but the transmission went not long after that, and it was definitely because of the Rockies. You got to be careful in the Rockies. It's a lot of uphill, and that elevation will do a number on your transmission and your car. But anyways, so that's a good analogy of burnout. What the car could do, we went through the middle of the country, so you can go the northern route, southern route, or the middle route. We went the middle route, Route 70, I think. And we were hammering, all good. We did the whole thing in like 4.5 days. It was good. We were taking 3 hours here, 3 hours on, 3 hours off, 3 hours on, 3 hours off. We would just switch. Occasionally we slept in the car, but not much. napping in between. And so the car got us there, no problem. The Rockies, we burnt out. That's kind of the thing. And then when we got to LA, his car didn't work anymore. And I think that's a good analogy of like, when you're in the Rockies and you're noticing the car start to burn out, you can decide to change destination. You can decide.
What is that?
Change destination. What was it? We're in trouble. We got 5 more after this.
Yeah, today we're recording.
Stay tuned.
It's quite a marathon day of recording, hence why I'm wearing the same thing. I don't know if Alan is low-key changing his shirts between his episodes as he does.
I'm not.
But I am not. But we're both traveling next week, so we have to record 8 episodes in one sitting.
Hello, my name is Dr. Tarryn McCarthy, and I'm host of the Business of Happiness podcast. When I met Kevin and Alan 2 years ago, I had no idea of how much impact they would have not only on the success for my business, but also on my life. They've given me enormous perspective and true strategies, true tactics to take in my everyday business plan and in my life plan to make an even greater success. Kevin and Alan, thank you so much. I couldn't even begin to express my gratitude for all you've done for me. And if you're looking for similar mentorship, I highly recommend these incredible experts at the Next Level University.
Speaking of burning out, we're about to at the Rockies right now. This is going to make or break the whether or not we have to change the goal of 8 episodes today. I'm kidding. So when we're in the Rockies, we realize we're burning out. We can change the goal and say, you know what, honestly, LA is too far. And I think that's what a lot of people do. I really do. I think that's, and sometimes that makes sense. I mean, you wanted to do 1,000 episodes in 2023, and then we crunched the numbers, and we were basically like, well, since you're going to PodFest, you're only doing 2 episodes that week, not including our show and Podcast Growth You. So that means you're going to have to make up for it with 19 the next week. And will you ever actually recover? It's like, honestly, I think we got to change that goal. Yeah. Sometimes you have to lower the target. Sometimes you do. But a lot of times you just have to learn how to, and this is the problem. It's very difficult to anticipate how much you're going to grow. So, Kev, you and I were talking about our 2023 projection of listens. And if we have a 2023 projection literally of, okay, if we take all of the listens up to this moment, and then we assume the same growth rate, or the same rate, not even growth rate, the same rate, we're going to hit 1.2 million listens by the end of the year. Not just in this year, but aggregate. Okay, what if we do grow a ton? What if a YouTube video does go viral? What if suddenly we end up on the top charts and iTunes starts recommending us, right? So it's very hard to bring this back to burnout and human beings. We were talking about this earlier, Kev. If you had your calendar now in 2020 version of Kevin, you wouldn't have been able to sustain it because to this point that I want to make in this episode, the human being, human potential, humans are the most adaptive creatures on this planet. We can evolve and adapt unbelievably well, especially when we're under pressure. You want to see what someone's capable of? Back them into a corner and give them, they will find a way. Human beings find a way. I really believe that, genuinely. I mean, some of these survival stories I was listening to, I told you, Zamperini, the movie Unbroken is based on a book. I forget the guy's first name. I got to remember it. But he was in prisoner of war camp. He was stuck at sea for 47 days. Like, it's a powerful story. And he caught a shark with his bare hands just to survive. Wow. Yeah, no pass. Nope, hard pass. And he ate the shark's liver, which apparently has a ton of vitamins and minerals. And just the story, it's like human beings are capable of so much more than we give ourselves credit for. But no one would purposely put themselves at sea just to see what they're capable of, So that's that weird. I shouldn't say no one. Some people actually do that. But I think that's the thing that we have to realize with burnout is a lot of times we lower the target when we shouldn't because we don't realize what we're becoming. But sometimes we just burn out repeatedly and we're actually spinning our tires, for lack of better phrasing. It's very hard to know which is which. And I think that's where wisdom is, which is helping people find that.
Yeah. Well, another good analogy is you're going to work out for 365 days in a row. if you were starting to, so you started with a half hour and you went up. Imagine if you started with an hour. You said, I'm going to work out for an hour for 365 days in a row. What would have happened? You might have gotten 6 months in and said, I'm burning out. I'm going to start doing a half hour. Mm-hmm. Then you could have, this didn't happen because you're you, but you could have gotten to the point where you said, honestly, I'm going to do 15 minutes. And then it could have gotten to the point where you said, honestly, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do it for 3. So it's either you change the day-to-day approach, or you say, this goal in the way that I decided is not going to happen. And I think at times it's very hard to figure out, because to your point, I did a post about this recently, and I think I said it on here too. I looked at 2021, the first week of 2021, I think I had 6 calls or something. I don't remember the exact numbers. And then the first week of 2023, did I do 2022
per day?
2022, I did it 2 years back to back, and I had 7 calls and I had 39 calls. 1 week and then 1 week. And that's only 1 year. To Alan's point, over the course of the year, I was burnt out many, many times. But every time we got burnt out, or I got burnt out, we redesigned. Then when we were talking about, hey, if you're going to go on 1,000 shows, you need to do 20 shows a week. You're going to have to do
12. It was 12.
That's only 600. No, other
so
shows.
20 including our
Yeah. So you're going to have to do 20 shows collectively every week. And I was thinking 20 shows and serving the clients that we have and doing the other stuff that you and I are doing and doing travel and doing, getting coaching, more clients.
Coaching.
Yeah, there's no possible way I'm going to be able to do all that. I'm not going to be able to grow.
Assuming that you want to have a great relationship and go into the gym.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's I think that's the important thing too, is I think a lot of people avoid burnout, but burnout doesn't necessarily have to be bad. It could be that you're reaching your outer limit. Now you're experiencing what that's like. Now you redesign. It's almost like I've used this analogy before. And hopefully this will land. When I get into elevators, I always look at the last time they've been checked. It's just like a thing I do. When's the last time this thing was inspected? This is an interesting thing. The weight limit on the elevator is never the weight limit that's actually going to break the elevator. How do they know? Because they reached the outer limit, right? It might say the limit for this elevator is 2,000 pounds. It's not. It's probably 4,000 pounds. But they 100%. Want to make sure that they don't get close to the limit.
It's called a buffer.
Yeah, I think that's important to understand as a human being too, of you can probably do way more than you think. But the only way to ever do way more than you think is to do way more than you're currently doing and figure out if you can do it. That's the interesting thing. And in life, it's not as cut and dry as if you're in the gym, you're going to try to lift a certain amount of weight that you don't know if you can lift, and if you fail, it hurts you badly. In life, it might not be the same. So I think just understanding your relationship with burnout and figuring out, is it serving you? Do you have too much of a buffer? That's another thing too, right? It's the elevator can hold 2,000 pounds. We're only going to put one person in at a time. That's drastically underusing the elevator's ability. So that's another thing there as well.
Well, you'll love this reference in one of our favorite movies, Titanic.
Nice.
Fill these lifeboats, man.
Fill them.
What was it? He said that they've been tested with the size of 50 grown men.
I don't remember that.
Right? And there was one lifeboat. He said, one of them I saw with 13. Or no, 12. 12? Right? There's not enough lifeboats, even if we fill them to the max, and you're over here putting 12. It's I don't want them to be too crowded. It's people are going to die. Right? You got to... So again, if you've seen the movie Titanic, you know what I'm talking about. But that's one of the things that I think is one of the biggest detriments to people's long-term growth. I know we got to jump. You don't really know what you're capable of long-term. I said this recently on Book Club, and I'll end here. And this has to do with burnout. I'm really, really optimistic on the macro of what human beings are capable of long-term is unbelievable. If I had told Kev, hey, you're going to go from one podcast a week being difficult to keep up with to 39 calls per week and 20 podcasts, you would have been like, are you kidding me? I can't even do one. But
for sure,
there's 6 years in between that, or 5.5. But that's why 1%. That's what NLU is built on. 1% day to day is not that noticeable. It's really not. But year to year, decade to decade, it's a different world. Different world. You know, at one point, Kobe Bryant, RIP, was playing summer basketball, and he said he didn't score a single point when he was 12, 13 years old. Not a single point, not a breakaway layup, nothing. But then he just played the long game after that, and he's, you know, and then he also grew like 1.5 feet, right?
Helps.
But helps a lot. But that's that 1% improvement over time compounds, and it's unbelievable. So the problem is you're not going to necessarily maximize your potential. Sometimes you have to cross the line to find the line, and that's failing forward. You know, and you know as well as I do, in the gym, sometimes you got to try to shoot for 6 and only get 4.
Yeah.
You know, I do that all the time. That's how you find your limits. You will never know what you're truly capable of until you cross that threshold. Just don't do it in a way where it's a permanent injury. Do it in a way where it's at least calculated and intelligent. Not to, in the elevator, if the elevator, you screw that up, you might die. In life, it's not like that. You know, God forbid you end up, you know, just struggling a bit, XYZ. So make sure they're micro failures, not macro failures.
That elevator in Toronto was like, hey, man, I don't know about this.
Didn't like it at all.
Very nice, like a nice building, nice condo
place,
building. But
didn't like that elevator.
That elevator was sketchy.
Hated it.
Last thing before we go. This is the wrap up. If you go to the gym every day and you find yourself burnt out, it doesn't necessarily mean you shouldn't go to the gym. Maybe it means you should go to the gym 5 days a week instead of 7, or go for a half hour instead of an hour. That's all. Being burnt out,
or get better sleep.
That right, or hydrate more, eat more nutritious foods, whatever it may be. That's the thing, is just because you're burnt out, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to change the thing you think. You should probably change something, but in what way, in what dose, at what time? There's a lot of different directions you can go. So I think that's an important distinction. Do you
appreciate this episode? It was about burnout, but it was also about how to increase your performance, which you know I love. So
you love your peak performance.
I do.
Yeah,
very
big
much.
Fan of it. Next Level Nation, if you want to level up your life and you hear us talking about coaching or events or group coaching, and you think to yourself, you know what, right now is just not the time for me to spend money, we have a course. It is completely free on our website. It is Next Level, #Next Level 5 to Thrive. Alan and I recorded it when we still had the studio, so there's a part of me that will always love that. If you're interested, it is in the show notes. The link will be there. Again, all you got to do is sign up, enter your email. It'll send it to you. You'll be good to go. Totally free, no strings attached.
What could your life look like if you had more clarity, more commitment, more confidence, more consistency, and a better community? That is what the Next Level 5 to Thrive is all about. Also, as you know, we will continue mentioning this up to the event. Next Level Live 2023. If you've been on the fence, remember, nothing grows on the fence. Take the leap of faith. Click the link in the show notes. Watch the video. Check out the landing page. Look at the itinerary. Look at what you're going to learn. We hope you join us. $97. You will not. Your future self will thank you. Your future self will thank you for coming to this event. We hope to see you there.
Next Level Nation, tomorrow for episode number 1230. Another reason consistency is so important. We talk about consistency very often because it is important, and it is important for many, many, many different reasons, sometimes ones we do not even connect, so make sure you join us for that. As always, we love you, appreciate you, grateful for each and every one of you, and at NLU, we do not have fans, we have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
Please reach out.